What's up, everybody? FooserX here, and we're going to dive deep into a topic that I know everybody struggled with at some point in time, and that is choking. We're not going to be on the table for this, and it's probably going to go pretty long, but, that's okay. This is a philosophical foosball channel, and this is a philosophical weakness that's inside all of us. This isn't something we could fix by going to the foos room and banging out 50 reps and be set. No, man, this is going to require us to look deep within ourselves. And before I get into this, I just want to say that there's a great video out there on choking from Chase Pennell. I'm going to post a link in the description. His theory is that choking is going off game script, changing your game plan. And if you don't do that, you won't choke. And I'm here to say I think that theory is absolute baloney, but I respectfully disagree with his take. If you agree or disagree with this video, post it in the comment sections below and we can address it, we can discuss it. But this video is going to go in the direction that going off game plan is a symptom of choking. So let's do it. Let's dive deep. First of all, what is choking? It's when the moment becomes too big for you. Your muscles start to tighten, and then you stop executing, and then you start doubting yourself because your body isn't doing the things that you know you can do. And then your game plan and decision making starts to change because now you're overcompensating. Instead of having all the options on the table and being on autopilot, now you're worried that you won't be able to hit certain passes and shots, and you start limiting yourself. And then you just become this weak beta bitch version of yourself. That's all there is to it. And from there, you may as well throw yourself off a cliff because there's no coming back from that in a match. Even if you win, it feels dirty. And when you're shaking that other person's hand, you feel icky because you just failed yourself. Like Luke Skywalker in the cave. So how do we stop that from happening? We're going to get to that, but first, let's just understand why that happens. And I think choking happens for a few reasons, but I think they can all be boiled down to one reason, and that is you're not comfortable in that situation. It's new to you, or at least it feels new. You're playing hundreds of hours of foosball, you're tons of matches, practicing on the table every day, but that's just not the same as tournament matches that really matter, is it? You can play pickup games for an hour, a couple hours, just dominate the table, be totally used to that table, the atmosphere, everything. But if somebody steps up and says hey man, let's play for cash, and they drop $100 bill on the table, that very comfortable situation has now just changed into something else. So it's the situation that we have to get used to. And let's think about other situations where we might succumb to those same type of pressure emotions, where we tighten up and we don't perform. Offhand, I'm thinking job interviews. If you go to these unprepared, you will absolutely bomb. I just interviewed for a job a few weeks ago, and I aced it because I spent weeks researching job interview questions, not just what the interview questions might be, but what employers were looking for when they asked those questions. I took my time answering them, on my own time, and then I rehearsed them every second of every day leading up to that interview day, and that way when I was in the interview, everything flowed naturally. I was prepared for everything. Another scenario is going up to talk to strangers, maybe, going on first dates. When you first start doing it, it's kind of nerve-wracking, but the more you do it, the more you get over those feelings. You get used to rejection or success. It all becomes easier, because the more you work on yourself, the more you put yourself out there, the more familiar you are with the situation. And pretty soon, the results don't matter because you're just having fun. You're being yourself. You've been there before. And so let's think about this in terms of sports and foosball. Do you guys remember LeBron James when he very first started playing? He'd be in big playoff games and choke. And not just his first year either, but multiple years. He'd miss big free throws, open shots, horrible, atrocious decision making. Even in the finals, he'd choke. And as great as he was still making really bad decisions under pressure, because he had all these expectations he was putting on himself. But he hadn't been through the finals enough to get acclimated to that kind of pressure. But now he's pretty darn clutch. I am a LeBron hater through and through, but I will admit he has conquered that aspect of himself. He's slain those demons of himself, and he can perform in the biggest moments. But he had to go through that trial by fire to get that experience. So let's look at foosball. Where are we most comfortable playing? right here, in our own house. This is our foosball table, our foos room. We play our best foosball right here because it's our home. We don't get nervous here. And think about it as it relates to other players. Tony, Ryan, Billy, Robbie, they play all the time on tour. Like, that is their foosball room. Some of those players have been playing as kids, so of course they're going to dominate. That's where they're most comfortable. With that familiarity of the situation, of the moment, comes confidence. And don't get me wrong, I still see top players choke all the time, but it's definitely not as frequent as the lower ranked players or the players that don't tour as much. So now that we know what the issue is, how do we beat those situations? It's very similar to how we beat those other scenarios in life. We have to practice and prepare for them. But how? Well, we have to do the best we can. The more we put ourselves in that same environment, the more comfortable it is, the more confidence we're going to have. And when you enter that ring of competition, we're going to be used to it. And we can do this a few ways. The best way is to close the gap between training and competition. And you do that by just playing a shit ton. At home, hitting weekly tournaments as much as possible, tour as much as you can. You tour so much that those matches that really mean something to you start to become second nature. And we all feel that way when we come home from a tour event. We're so used to playing on tour, and then we come back to play in the local tournament, and there's zero pressure. And we're like, this isn't pressure. Real pressure is the pit tables at Worlds, or being 5 up on the winner's side, and if you win your next match, you're going to have to play somebody that you just know you're going to smash. So all of a sudden, you're like, whoo, man, this match isn't just 1 win, it's 2. So you're starting to put that pressure on yourself, in these big moments. And the people who tour the most usually have the most accolades. I mean, it all makes sense, right? You put yourself in that situation the most, you're going to get used to it the most. And that's good for those type of players, but not everybody can tour. So, that's the problem, is tour events cost about $700 a pop to go to, probably more. People just can't afford to hit all the tour stops they want. So that's why we have to start looking at other alternative solutions to choking. The first solution, and it's kind of cheating, it's kind of a hack, but I like it because it works and it's fun, is alcohol. It's kind of like that situation, that scenario we talked about before, like going up to new people, going to talk to some cute girl at the bar. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but you take a shot or two of Rumble Mints and let that buzz warm your body, and all of a sudden it's like, hey man, like, how you doing? Alcohol erases your nerves. It's an uninhibitor, and yes, it absolutely works for foosball. If you don't have the time and money or discipline to invest in some of these other solutions, then hey, like, this is not the Olympics here. Nobody's going to go make you pee in a cup before the match. This is a very viable solution to play the game the way you want to play it. Another solution, number 2, is money matches. It might be a little pricey, but consider it an investment. Play people your level or above for money, and you're really quickly going to get used to playing with something on the line. That adrenaline of, oh shit, like, I don't want to lose more money, is eventually going to start to feel normal. Of course, that's still a different type of feeling than playing at the pit tables or for big matches, but it's a start. It's getting you out of your comfort zone. Number 3, have a simple game. That is pretty much it. The more options you have, the harder your decision making is going to be when the pressure hits. Think of it like ordering from a restaurant. When there's a big juicy menu and there's so many choices, and the waitress comes by a few times and everybody's ready to order except for you, and you're like, yeah. Like, go ahead, guys, I'll figure it out when it's my turn. So she circles the table, and then it's your turn, and you're like, I'll just take some water with a side of ketchup. No! We don't want that. We want to kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. And number 4, we have to learn to live in the moment. This is a basic Buddhist principle. A lot of our fear comes from thinking about the future or the past. As foosers, we start to focus too much on winning, or maybe bad breaks in the game. I see it all the time. People start getting pissed off at their opponent's sloppy luck. They can't let it go, and they start to lose their center. or they're 1 or 2 points away from the finish line. They just can't keep it together because they can like taste the handshake. It's so close and their entire game just collapses. So how do we stay in the moment? You know, because it's easy to say, don't focus on the outcome or don't think about things that should be on autopilot. But how do we do that? Well, we do that with meditation. And meditation is a skill just like any other we have to practice. You know, after this video, like get comfy, find a pillow and go click on a guided meditation video off YouTube. You know, sit back, relax, clear your mind, and see how long that lasts. You know, I can pretty much guarantee that you won't be able to go for more than a minute or two before your mind just starts drifting and wandering. You know, this is something we have to do every day. We have to work on it. You know, we have to learn to focus on being centered, you know, a little bit at a time. It's just like getting good at foosball. You know, this practice, we need to do these reps. We need to meditate a lot to get used to this. And again, this is not just going to benefit your foosball game. You know, think of all those times in life where you let the emotions get the best of you. You know, they knock you off center. You know, you're like this turtle who just got flipped on their back. You know, we have to be able to breathe and bring ourselves back. You know, every time it's your drop, you know, close your eyes, take a deep breath to center yourself. You know, get in this habit of centering yourself between points. And there's a saying, I don't know if I agree with it all the time, but it goes, he who cares the least wins. And it's true in so many situations, in foosball and life. You know, if you're in a relationship and you care more, like you're the one who's going to get your heart broken. When you interview for a job and you don't have one, you know, you care more than that company who's interviewing you, you know, and that might come across. You know, employers might start picking up on that desperation. You know, if you interview when you already have a good job, then that outcome doesn't matter so much, you know, and you're coming from a place of power, a place of balance. You know, you're going to make the best decisions for yourself because you could just be you. You know, you're not stressing about the future because you're already in a good place. So we have to take that mindset to foosball. We have to be balanced in our life so we can practice being centered, you know, so we don't care so much of the outcome of a foosball match. That way we could just play and have fun. You know, this is just stuff that everybody should start to work on, start exploring, you know, learn that, hey, it's not just about foosball, but this is something that can help our lives in general. So, all right, guys, great discussion. If you guys have any thoughts, post them in the comments section below. If you have any topics you want to talk about or dive into, you know, let's get it on. Post those comments down below as well. Laters.